Hey, I'm Alina, and today we're talking about Rita Moreno. Welcome to Hispanic History. Born December 11, 1931, in Humacao, Puerto Rico, Rosita Dolores Alverio would grow on to change Hollywood. At 5 years old, in the midst of the Great Depression, Alverio moved to New York with her mother, leaving behind her father and brother. There, she would take her stepfather's surname, Moreno, and begin her professional career through dubbing English films and doing radio. She was a natural when it came to performing and debuted on Broadway at just 13. 5 years later, she would land her first film role in So Young, So Bad, and change her stage name to how we know her now, Rita Moreno. Moreno would go on to act in many movies, including Singing in the Rain and The King and I. However, despite living out her dream, she found her roles weighing on her. Studios wanted to hammer her with stereotypical roles, not just for Latina characters, but also Southeast Asian and Polynesian characters. Moreno was left playing the sensual, exotic character in most of her roles. That is, until she landed the role of Anita in West Side Story.
West Side Story changed my life. Anita had size and presence and dignity. And she became my role model, by the way. Isn't that interesting? It took that long for me to find a role model.
Finally, there was a Latina on screen who wasn't a stereotype, but someone to relate to aspire to be. West Side Story would go on to be nominated for 11 Academy Awards, winning Moreno an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. This made her the first Latino, not just Latina, Latino, to ever win an Oscar.
I can't believe it! Good Lord! I leave you with that.
After being empowered by playing such a character, Moreno promised to never take up a demeaning role again. This resulted in her not returning to film for 7 years. Instead, she spent those 7 years in theater and television. She starred in The Election Company, where she stole the hearts of children in the 70s with her catchphrase, "Hey, you guys!" In fact, in the 70s, she won a Grammy for The Election Company, a Tony for The Ritz, and 2 Emmys for The Muppet Show and The Rockford Files. This makes her one of the only 16 people to ever achieve an EGOT. But she didn't stop there. In the 80s, she was on 9 to 5. In the 90s, she voiced Carmen Sandiego on Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego. In the early 2000s, she was on Oz. And in the 2010s, she starred in One Day at a Time. Those are just a few of the many roles she took over the past few decades. However, winning an EGOT was not enough for Moreno, as in 2019, she was honored with the Peabody Career Achievement Award. This makes her one of the only 3 people to ever have a PGOT, and the only Latina. In 2004, she received the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and in 2009, the National Medal of Arts. After decades of mental health struggles, racism, sexism, and ageism, Rita Moreno became one of the most decorated actresses in Hollywood. Her impact in entertainment set the stage for future Hispanic actors. If it were not for her efforts and her strides, chances are there would be fewer Latinos in film and theater than there already are. She is a prime example of why representation matters.
A 15-year-old girl from Chicago who hadn't seen a Puerto Rican represented on screen once asked her mother, "Mom, when did Puerto Ricans come about?" "What do you mean, Gina?" "I never see us on my favorite TV shows or movies. We must not have existed back then, right?" And then she introduced me to you. When you followed your dreams, Rita, you gave me the allowance to follow mine.
Rita Moreno continues to work and to inspire. Her latest project being an executive producer in Steven Spielberg's upcoming remake of West Side Story, the same story which finally gave her her voice. We'll see you next week.